Boys, it is week 5, and we are here back with my man Lucas, and we are ready to give you guys our predictions for how we think this week is going to go. We are both coming off of L's last week, but we regrouped, refreshed, and we're ready to get some dubs, right? Feeling good?
Yeah,
good?
I am feeling good.
Bounce back season?
Yes, definitely bounce back. I don't think that I'm going to have 185 points put up against me this week. Not because Braden's team stinks. They do, but it's because I'm not going up against Marcus. So that's all.
Let's look at the standings coming off of week 4, going into week 5. We have at the top of the leaderboard, Book of More Moms, Lucas Larson holding it down still. Will you be there again next week?
I think that I think that Marcus is going to have another good week. I think Blake will have a good week too. But I think that I have enough of a lead to still hold on to that even if my team underperforms.
We shall see. So following him, we have Marcos in 2nd, Josh Turley in 3rd, Blake Morgan in 4th, I am in 5th, Josh Locke is in 6th, Schutz is in 7th, Hunter Ford in 8th, Phillip in 9th, Sam in 10th, Braden in 11th, and holding down that 12th spot is Jacob Weir. So let's give some underdog predictions. Let's see who we think currently not in the top 6, not in the playoffs, but will become end of the year. This one's easy, but I am going to go a little bit different. I do still believe in Sam's team, but I picked him the last 3 weeks. I still do believe he will be there, but to give it a little bit different here, I'm also going to say that Hunter Ford will end up in the top 6. Derrick Henry is waking up, and we know, as he said last week, and as everyone knows, Derrick Henry, as it gets colder, he begins to get a little bit better. The Titans are waking up. Henry's waking up. I think he's fueling up to carry this team on his back. Darren Waller had a bad week last week, but Darren Waller is a stud. Devontae Adams is a stud. Breece Hall is waking up. I think that Hunter Ford's team is going to make a push and will be in the playoffs come end of season. Who you got?
Have you heard about the trade rumors? I'm countering your question with a question. Have you heard about the trade rumors?
I have not.
So apparently DJ Moore is possibly on the trade block to go to the Chiefs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So if I was Hunter...
before I air this, I need to trade him. I need to go trade.
So
by the time this comes out, there's a chance that DJ Moore could be on my roster.
Possibly. Unless I offer a better package.
Hunter, I'm sorry if you did not know that there was trade rumors and one of us steals DJ Moore from you beforehand and you were just now finding out about this, but it's the way it goes.
Yeah, you got to
those are real rumors.
Yeah, that's what I heard from a very somewhat reliable source.
Okay. I won't ask for who it is, but we'll just
we'll
take your word for it. So who do you got? Who's your underdog pick? Who do you say not in the top 6, but will become end of season?
So I'm going the opposite. I'm going with Sam over Hunter.
I do still believe in Sam though. Let's make that well known. He is still the guy who's had the most points scored against him, and he's overcoming that slowly but surely. And I do still believe in Sam, but you believe in Sam as well. So I've got somebody else that believes in him with me. Sam, we got you, my man.
I don't think that he's going to have another player with negative points this week. That'd be really impressive, actually, if he was able to pull that off. However, he does have Josh Allen still. And we've talked about this last time. He's got Josh Allen and he's got Austin Eckler. But he also has Damian Harris, and they like to run the ball near the goal line. So he's got players that'll get him points.
Alvin Kamara, that's currently out.
If they can put it together at the same time, and then his players get that consistency, he'll make his way back.
He could be scary. He could be competing for the whole thing. So we'll see. Let's get into these matchups, man. You ready to go? We'll go ahead. Let's kick it off. We'll kick it off with myself, since my name is at the top here. And I'm going against Josh Locke, who had a major bounce back week. One thing I do want to say before we get into this really quickly, because I was looking at the seeding of those standings, and it was very interesting that you have a guy like Phillip, who is seeded 9th, but is 2-2 and only 1 game back of you, who is 3-1 at the top of the standings. So right now, with you and Blake losing, these standings have really opened up, and there is a ton of 2-2 teams. There is a ton of 3-1 teams, and this thing is wide open. You could literally go from being Phillip in number 9 to being up in the top 3 or 4 in 1 week with 1 win. So, standings are up in the air, and that brought me to this point because both me and Josh are 2-2. We're both kind of in that middle of the pack, but 1 win, 1 loss could be very detrimental to the end of our season standings. So, 2-2, both me and Josh in the middle of the pack. He had a bounce back week. I had a fallback week. I'm going to pick myself. Of course, I don't wish. I wouldn't be upset if DeAndre Swift misses another week. He should probably just make sure he's 100% healthy. That way I can play Jamal Williams. But we'll see. Who do you think you got in this matchup?
Yeah, so I'm also going to take you. I think that Josh definitely had a good week last week. He had a couple players that didn't quite perform up to expectations, but I'm looking at it now, and Jonathan Taylor, he's questionable to play. As a matter of fact, I thought that someone said he was going to be out a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't have Jonathan Taylor, I don't think that Dameon Pierce is going to run for a 75-yard touchdown every week. And Miles Sanders had his best week ever last week. So his team was full of players that had career games, and I don't just quite think that it's going to shake out to be that way this week. And with the way that Williams is running the ball in Detroit, they give him a lot of goal line carries, and also with Swift being out, even if Swift comes back, they're still going to want to make sure that he stays healthy the rest of the season. So I think that with another week with Jimmy G and Kittle, they'll start to reform that chemistry playing the Panthers. Panthers are not very good. I don't know how Drake London's going to shake out for you, but all in all, I think that you still take him to win this week.
Appreciate that. So 2-0 in favor of me. On to the next matchup. We will go to Blake Morgan, Saquad Squad versus Call of Duty, Jacob Weir, number 2 versus number 12. And unfortunately, I do not see things getting any better for Jacob, at least not this week. We did talk about kind of his main 4 guys, Joe Mixon, Fournette, Chase, and Brown being a very solid 4 guys, a good foundation. Matt Ryan as the quarterback as of this moment, that could change. Blake's squad kind of fell back last week, but we've said it so far this season. He's been one of the more consistent guys. I don't see any reason why that changes. I've got Blake bouncing back, getting his win, and Jacob continuing this downward spiral he's on. Who do you got?
Absolutely. I'm also taking Blake. I think that Hurts had a bad week last week from a fantasy standpoint, but the Eagles were playing in a really heavy rain. This week, though, they traveled to Arizona. They're going to be on the turf. Hurts is going to have have a bounce back. Oh yeah, he's going to have a bounce back week. So that's definitely going to help him. And then also Jacobs, he doesn't have Tua anymore, so Tua's going to be gone for the foreseeable future. But fortunately for him, though, he does have his next 4 slots down. He's got Mixon, Fournette, Chase, and A.J. Brown. And I think that A.J. Brown is going to benefit from Jalen Hurts. So they're going to balance out a little bit there, but all in all, I think that the quarterback position is what's ultimately going to hold him back. So
once again, we are in agreement. So on to the next one, Schutz and Josh Turley. This one might be the most intriguing matchup of the week. They're both right there in the standings, 3-1, 2-2, and their predictions are right there neck and neck. I'm going to go with Schutz. Schutz has won 2 in a row. He's seeming to turn things around. I know Josh, a lot of people didn't believe in him, and he's kind of shocked everybody. And I would say this, I would pick Josh if Cordero Patterson wasn't going on IR, wasn't out. He was really doing wonders for him, and I could easily see Josh winning this. He has James Robinson ready to slide up there and take his spot, but that does hurt him a little bit depth-wise goes, losing Cordero Patterson. So I'm going to go with Schutz, but I don't feel the greatest about this. I'm not the most confident. Who do you got?
It's definitely a matchup that's up in the air. And both of these teams I do think are going to be very evenly matched. I look at Schutz, and he's got McCaffrey. McCaffrey is one of the best fantasy players. Duvernay is a sneaky good player. He's got that return potential, and also he's got speed. Yep. But one of the things that I kind of look at in the fine details for this matchup is he still has that combination with Mahomes and Kelsey, and they're going up against the Raiders, and the Raiders have not had a great start to the season. Then you look at Tyreek Hill, and he's going up against the Jets. Now, granted, I think that they're going to put Sauce Gardner on him for most of the game. However, I don't really think it matters too much who you put on Hill because he's still one of the best receivers in the game. So, and also looking at the other side of it too, McCaffrey's going up against San Fran's defense. So that's going to be a challenge for them. I can see it going either way, but I think that the teams that they're facing on those sides, I think that they're going to have a little bit more favor.
All right, we shall see. On to the next matchup, we're going to go with Sam and Hunter Ford. These are the 2 guys that I have picked to bounce back and make it in the playoffs. I like both of these guys' roster. This is breaking my heart to have to pick one of these to win this matchup. Here's what I'm going to say. Alvin Kamara, as of this moment, is not playing. If Alvin Kamara is playing, I'm going with Sam. If Alvin Kamara is out, I'm going with Hunter. And it's a little bit of a cop-out But, like I said, Hunter's team is starting to wake up, starting to play a lot better. Sam's team as well. I do not think he can afford another -1 point in the column.
Sure.
And so, get Alvin Kamara in there, knock that Richie James out of his lineup. I feel a whole lot better about Sam's team, and I would pick him. So, I think Kamara's going to play, so I'm going to pick Sam. But if for some reason Kamara is out, I'm going with Hunter. Who you got?
So I have Sam over Hunter. I think that this is my underdog pick for the week. It's hard when you look at Hunter's team though, because he does have those big names. He's got Devontae Adams and Derrick Henry, and Darren Waller too. So it's always hard to pick against somebody that's got those three guys. But there again, as we've said over and over again, that you've got Josh Allen and Austin Eckler, and that's a really good 1-2 punch to have. But also DK Metcalf, he had a good week last week, and Damian Harris, the Patriots like to run the ball quite a bit. So I think that if they're missing, are they supposed to be missing Mac Jones for another game? I don't even know.
I think so.
But if they are, then you would think that they would run the ball a little bit more too.
Yeah.
So if they can get the ball moving, get in the red zone, and start giving the ball off to Harris and Stevenson towards the end zone, I think that'll definitely help Sam out a lot. So that's I really wanted to pick Hunter, but I think I'm going to go with Sam because there's always that one game that doesn't shake out how you sort of expect it to.
Yep.
So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Sam.
On to the next one. We're going to go to Philip, PD the Great, versus Marcos, Trap Daddy Thatcher. And I'll make this one short and sweet. Philip is injury riddled. I feel terrible for him right now. He can definitely turn it around and have a good season. Marcos is coming off of the best week last week, and so it's kind of impossible not to pick him. I'm picking Marcos.
I am too. I don't think there's really a whole lot to say about this one. Like you said, injuries.
You hate it, but it's a part of the game. That's the way it goes.
It is. And
we don't know, as of right now, we don't know if Swift's playing. We don't know if St. Brown is playing. If those two play, Philip has a shot, by all means. Right now, we don't know if they're playing. If those two guys don't play, it is going to be a tough one for Philip to climb out of this.
And we also talked about in the previous episode, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it, because we talked about Philip's predicament with all of his running backs. He's got multiple running backs that with Williams being out, he doesn't really have that one guy that's, hey, this is my RB1, this is my RB2. He's got 4 or 5 guys that you could look at all of them and say, I could see reasoning behind starting all of them. Yep. And it's just hard to pick and choose, and it gets you in a predicament where you just really don't know who to go with. And then it also doesn't help when Marcus has Jefferson and Diggs, the top 2 fantasy receivers this year, or at least I believe they are.
Yeah, they're up there.
So he's got a ton of good receivers. Olave, that was a big pickup for him too. Olave, he's got a really good team, and I think that Olave, personally, I think that's going to be the one player that he picked up that's going to take him to the top of the standings. So
I think he's on the trade block right now, so maybe I might slide in there and take a little piece of that.
Yeah, I feel like Marcus is going to be picky though about what he takes.
He's going to be picky.
He's going to want a deal.
He's going to want one, and so we both got Marcos on there,
yep.
And we'll move on to the next one, which I think we'll both be in agreement as well. Braden, Catalina Wine Mixon versus you, Book of Mormoms, and kind of the same story there. You've been one of the best teams. You have those highs. Braden is coming off of a win, so that is good for him, and he's kind of getting on the right path. Unfortunately, after your first win, you get to go up against you, and that is not a good sight. And so I'm going to go with you. I'm picking you. You've been more consistent. You've been your team overall, and you're coming off of a bad week. Maybe if you were coming off another great 200-point week, then we'd say, okay, maybe it's time for him to take a slope. But you just took that slope. It wasn't that bad of a slope. And I think your team wakes up and gets the win.
I'm a little bit concerned about a couple players, though. I was really big on Amari Cooper before the beginning of the season, but so far I've seen week 1, he didn't really do much. Weeks 2 and 3, he had big weeks. And then week 4, he had another bad week where he didn't really do much of anything. So I'm like, is Amari Cooper going to be that boom or bust guy that I just need to keep in my lineup and hope that other players come in? But back to Devontae Smith, I think that he'll have a good week, and I feel like he's going to be. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout or anything. I think it'll still be close, but I feel like Devontae Smith and Mark Andrews are going to be those 2 players that are going to have good games. That's going to propel me over Braden this week. So
awesome, my man. So there you have it. There are our week 5 predictions. So
I do have a question for you though. Out of everybody, and I feel kind of awkward answering this question myself because I am at the top of the standings. But if you were to look at the entire league, who is that one team that you would say I really don't want to go against them? Because I know what my answer would be. But that one team where you're just like, I really don't feel like there's really a scenario where I beat those guys under any normal circumstances.
I think it's got to be you. I think it's got to be you. Only because I've said this before about my team. I like my team. My team is pretty consistent. I don't see my team having those ultra highs that you have shown, that Marcos has shown, that even Josh Locke showed last week. Some of these guys have shown to be able to put up 160 plus. My team hasn't done it yet, and I don't know that they can, to be honest with you. I think my team is a consistent team that can get between 120 and 140 pretty much every single week, and that will win me most weeks. But playing a team like yours, playing a team like Marcos's, that does worry me. And a team like Blake, who Blake, to me, has as good of a chance as anyone to win the entire league as a whole. Like, I would not be shocked. I would say he's one of the favorites because of his consistency as well. I don't see Blake's team consistently being able to put up the numbers that you guys have when you guys hit those highs. I don't see his team having that ceiling. His team has more of a high floor. And so because of that, I wouldn't be as scared to go against a Blake's team, even though I think Blake, coming into season, might win the whole thing, as I would be against you and Marcos. So to answer your question, I would say number one would be you because you've done it 2 weeks in a row. Marcos' team has the potential to do it. Your team has done it. I would say I'd be the most scared of your team.
It's really funny. You know, Blake has Najee Harris, and that was like one of his like, hey, this is supposed to be like one of my best players.
He stole him. I wanted him.
If Harris bounces back though, I mean, if Kenny Pickett is able to move the ball and Harris starts to get touches in the goal line, I think that if Harris becomes like an 18, 19, 20 point a player every week, I think that Blake does have that potential. But Marcus is the team that scares me because I could see easily every week him having just 2 of his players combined for 50 points just by themselves with Diggs and Jefferson.
Yeah. So, and that's not even their best day. Their best day, they could, if they hit at the same time, they could combine for 75 points.
Yeah, exactly. So when you got 2 players that could do that, and their receivers, not even like the running backs or anything, it's definitely, a cause for concern when you're looking at those teams. Like, man, he's got a bunch of guys that could really do something. So yeah, he would be, if I was to say, he would be my pick right now because he beat me, and there's some things that I see about his team that have more of that boom potential than mine does. Because I've seen those weeks where they've had really bad weeks.
Definitely.
So,
that'll do it. That'll wrap it up right there. Week 5. Good luck to all of you guys. I hope you all get wins, and we'll see you guys next week. So like, subscribe, stay tuned, and we will see you next week.